skill sets you're going to bring to this role? It's the same thing as asking what are your strengths, right? But I'm not talking about your strengths in general. Whatever. I'm relating it to the job. So there's not gonna be any stupid bullshit standard answer that you learned from Mr. So and so on YouTube. You will have to think about what am I bringing to the job. So that's a better way to ask that question. Okay. And then in terms of weaknesses, weaknesses, yes. And then people who use the word weaknesses, people who say that, you just know they're not a good organization. If anything, instead of saying what are your weaknesses, you could say what are the things you think you can work on or improve on. And here's because weakness is such a negative word. What are your weaknesses? Like what? I don't want to talk to you about my weaknesses. Like nobody wants to. It just brings in like a very negative vibe to the whole discussion, And here's a better way of asking that same question about weaknesses. Okay, so you could say, maybe you could say, you probably heard of this question. You could say, from your previous maybe or your last or your latest performance review with your line manager. What were some of the areas maybe that were brought up as areas for you to work on or to improve on? You see how I've asked that question? It puts the person at ease and they can open up a little bit more for your own benefit. You can extract more information from that rather than say, what are your weaknesses? People are going to be defensive already and they're going to give you standard answers which are just lies, to be honest with you. But if you put it the way I've just put it here, say, so maybe from your current or your recent couple of reviews, what are some of the areas that were highlighted by your line managers as areas for you to work on? That comes across a little bit more positive looking. Is like, it's not like what are your weaknesses? You see what I'm saying? I'm sure you'll agree with me. So so these are some of the things that and actually. This is probably the best way to answer that question. If one of the interviewers are dumb enough, or some of the hiring managers or some of these hiring firms are dumb enough to ask you the question in that way, talking about what are your weaknesses, here's your tip. The best way to answer it is to turn it around on them and say, well, the way I look at it, so what I can say is something like, you can answer like something like that. Like say the way I can put it is like, from my last performance reviews, these are some of the areas that my line manager said maybe I can work on. And then don't make it about your person. Like for example, I struggle as in general. No, so you can say the things that were brought up is that quarter there were some reports that were not delivered on time. So make it about specific things that did not happen on time or some specific incidences that happened that quarter, rather than talking about but be careful. Some of them can actually really pin you down and say but I'm talking about what are your actual like you as a person, but by the time they get there it just becomes awkward. And when hiring managers want to drill down to your personal weaknesses and stuff like that, they're probably not good interviewers anyway. I would rather talk about, what are the things that maybe you didn't, that came up in your last performance review that you're working on, or things that didn't go, rather than, what are your weaknesses as a person? What do you mean, what are my weaknesses as a person? Should I tell you about I can't perform in bed or something? Is that what you wanna hear? Okay, I should probably not say that. Anyway, so these are some of the stupid questions that recruiters, agents, and hiring managers should not be talking about. Honestly, recruiters, hiring managers, you should do better job. You should do a better job yourselves. And there's a few other stupid questions which I'm gonna break down in my next video. But yeah, in closing, I just want to also mention that there's a lot of other silly advice that you're getting on YouTube here. and on the internet, there's a lot of, that just because you got a video that's got 12 million views talking about, oh yeah, this is top 3 questions, top 3 answers, how to answer. No, some of those things are just stupid. They're just copying from the internet. Those people have never been in hiring positions. They're just copying based on what everybody consensus is saying. Most people who actual hiring managers, some of them are not even trained in all these HR things. Like I've been in that position. And when I was doing my first interview, okay, as an interviewer, yeah, I just went there and said, here's a CV. Do you want to tag along and then maybe ask your own questions? I wasn't thinking about, tell me about yes. I was thinking about, yeah, if this guy's gonna be working for me, yeah, I want to know, like, okay, what do you know about this system? What do you know about that process? How would you deal with that situation? I'm not worried about, what are your weaknesses? And by the way, this is the other thing I'm going to talk about in the next video as well. All these scenario type questions, some of them are so ridiculous and so stupid. Talking about, tell me about a situation when this and that. Well, what's that got to do with this job? Tell me about a situation. Just ask the candidate. So as a good example, so I'm talking about these situational questions, right? For example, if you want to ask a candidate, if your main concern is that in your team there's probably some funny characters and some strong personalities you maybe the last candidate was struggling with, and you want to make sure that this new guy is gonna be able to deal with this situation. Just say it. Well, you don't have to review everything, but you can literally put it straight to the candidate and say, listen, so, we've all been in situations where in a team, maybe there's some characters, different characters. How do you approach, what is your approach in terms of dealing with difficult characters and, conflicts within the team, and how would you deal with that? I would ask that question rather than, so give me an example of when you had this and that, and then all this, and then that's another thing. This whole star approach, man, screw that, man. I'm gonna break that down in a different video again. I know I'm talking about a lot of different videos, but that's the thing. Subscribe to this channel. I'm gonna be debunking a lot of these silly traditional things that everybody just wants to stick with them. We need more people like me to we need to debunk, and people need to move away from all these HR people's way of looking at things. We need to look at actual hiring managers, what they really want. Okay, so yeah, so exactly. So number one, so I'm lastly just talking about the silly other advice that you get from YouTube about, when answering these scenario questions, this whole star approach. Yeah, I get it, but man, my biggest advice is just keep it conversational. Yes, of course, that's not the only way. Don't stress about, oh my God, you've got a good scenario, but it's not aligning 100% to the whole star approach. There's other people that prescribe a different approach than the whole star approach, and then there's other hiring managers who don't even give a shit when they're reviewing your answer in terms of, did they do the S, the T, the A, the R? Man, they just want to listen to you. Are you making sense? Are you coming across confidently? This whole box ticking exercise. Did they tick all the boxes of the star thing? Man, just answer the question. If you've got a good example, just explain around it. Of course, if you've got a good structure around it, yes, especially in terms of, what was the situation? What did you do? What is the result? This whole thing about sticking to this whole strictly like a star approach, man, forget that. Don't stress too much about that. Just have a good example in your head. That's it. How you answer it, don't lose sleep on it, okay? Sometimes you never be asked. There will not be enough time to go through all and sometimes they'll probably cut you off to say, okay, we get it. Okay? And then lastly, I just want to say this thing about asking questions at the end. Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, ask questions at the end, but don't stress too much again about questions at the end. My advice would be, listen, ask questions as the interview is going. That's is going to be a natural flow. You probably save yourself time to kind of gather your thoughts and gain more confidence as you giving the interviewers time to answer your questions as the interview is going, rather than always putting yourself in a position where you are the one answering the questions. All right, so don't and also your questions become kind of they become more relevant questions because they're like actual questions which are flowing with the interview. So if somebody has just said something, you can be like, hold on, can I just from what you just said there, actually it's interesting that you say that because I also have got a similar situation, and then blah 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 blah. How do you guys do this? This is it's a natural question from what they have just said, rather than waiting till the end where now it's like, oh, a random question because you saw it on YouTube. It's like, nobody brought that out. What's this? I know you can ask good questions. I'm just saying, do not stress too much about, oh, I need to hold off and ask questions at the end. No. But if there is time, yes, always ask, especially when they say, okay, they are wrapping it up and say, you've got any questions for us? Yes. Anything else that you feel like was not addressed or you had prepared? Yes, definitely prepare for questions. Prepare some questions, some 2-3 good questions. They're the standard ones. Don't get me wrong. They're standard ones. Yeah, what kind of person would succeed in this role? Blah blah blah. Those, yes. Bring those with you. But if there's an opportunity to ask them during the interview, don't be afraid to ask them during the interview. That's what I'm saying. But if not, and also not if not, but only, but if at the end there's still time and then they say, do you got any questions for us? Yes, it's better to ask 1 or 2 more questions rather than say, no, I've got no more questions. Or if you really don't have any more questions, you can at least cover yourself by saying, hold on, let me see. Actually, I think all of my questions I had were answered during the course of the interview, including the question that I wanted to answer. I wanted you to answer about your technological initiatives, like the team. So you can literally so they know you're not lying. You can say, you've addressed. I had questions about the team, your IT initiatives, your customers, the size of your customers, and your growth, whatever questions. So I think, all of those questions have been answered during the interview. So I'm happy. Thank you. So you see, so rather than just saying, no, I have no questions, but make sure you ask those questions if you got a chance during the interview itself. So all right then. So that's it from me for now. But listen, this is just one of so many episodes I'm gonna be dropping here on YouTube. So please subscribe to this channel. I am dedicated to drop useful information, not just what everybody else is dropping on YouTube, just talking about, tell me about yourself. This is how to answer this question. No, I'm here to tell you some real life situations, real interview situations in the modern day. Some of these videos you're watching, they're 10 years old, 7 years old, okay? People don't ask those questions anymore, okay? So look out for this channel, subscribe so you get new material, and like this video. More to come. Thank you very much. Thanks for subscribing. See you on the next video.